constitution. We should ask you, can you see any positive coming out of this conversation or committee rather, that will be looking at national dialogue? There must be something positive about it.
There can be nothing positive coming out of the committee and the people that constituted the committee. You must go back to Nigeria's history. The commissioner from Delta was talking about derivation principle as one of the reasons that made the Obasanjo confab inconclusive. The agitation by the minorities, so-called, in Nigeria context, did not start after independence. It started right under colonialism. Because the fact is that different sections of Nigeria community have been existing for ages, with one not being under the authority of the other. But under the colonial contraption, large territories called Middle Belt, which were never governed by the Hausa Fulani elites, suddenly under the canopy of northern region, became subjected to the rule of Hausa Fulani aristocracy. In the south, what is called South today, there were agitation, partly from the western region, which the elite colluded and created the Delta, what is now called Midwest states. Because the current Delta state and Edo used to be part of the original western region. And then there is the agitation for core states in the Ogoni Rivers area. When the colonialists set up their own committee, their own commission, the Wheeling Commission, they gave it a responsibility. They said to look into the fears of the minorities and provide means of allaying those fears. Look at the fears and provide means of allaying those fears. And when the commission sat, all the principalities in Nigerian politics, the Northern People's Congress, the NC, the AG, they all submitted separately. AG said, well, reluctantly, we will accept further creation of state or region from Western region, provided all other regions will accept. NC actually said that, no, what we needed was a weaker constituent Nigeria federal. The Northern Congress, led by Ahmadu Bello, in fact, stoutly refused any alteration and things like that. And all we have been having since that time is still same rigmarole, movement without motion. Why now? I read in the newspaper a few days ago that a sum of about 3-point-something trillion has been, mapped out or appropriated or estimated to celebrate the centenary of Nigeria's existence. At a time when there is cacophonic agitation across the country, asking for the country to be split up. ASU, the nation's teachers at the university level, have been on strike for 3 months. How much will it cost them? The government has no solution to that. So that's why, no matter how you look at it, there can be nothing positive coming. The Jonathan is just trying to reconfigure the political space. Some elements have been able aside by giving them responsibility under this top agenda. They can be reconfigured back into the whole system. There is nothing positive. I say it. There is nothing positive that can come out of
expecting. Okay, Mr. Kolubo, we've had this kind of conference before under Abacha. Nothing came of that, unfortunately. Are you expecting much from this exercise?
I am. The truth about it is, without agitation, you can't have a change. Like you rightly said, 1945 riots led to 1946 constitution for Richard. The 1953 conference in London and the 1954 conference in Lagos was what brought about the independence constitution. Remember, at independence, the Queen of England was still the head of state until 1963, when we had the constitution that the republic that stopped her from becoming being the head of state, who was only being represented by Nnamdi Azikiwe. And if you notice, all the tenants of that constitution took even Henry Willikin's commission report into consideration. If you look at that report, it was the fears of the minority that made the British agents go around. They went round to get an aggregation, just like what these people are doing now, the advisory committee, to get the opinion of what each of these minority groups, minority areas, endangered areas, as, so to say then, what they had to say about the 1946 constitution as at that time. And you see, it is the same modus operandi. It was for economic exploitation of Nigeria we had the British constitution. The 1979 constitution was a contraption that was put together by the military just because they wanted to hand over. After the Murtala coup, and Obasanjo was in a hurry to make sure he brings in...
Same as 99.
Same as 99. Immediately Abacha died. Remember, Abacha's conference was tailored towards prolonging him in office. That was the whole aim of Abacha's conference. And so you remember Yar'Adua drew the eye of Abacha when he gave a termination date for his regime. And that was where Yar'Adua got the other side of Abacha. And so by the time Abacha died, Abdulsalami Abubakar was in a hurry to hand over. He was not even ready to wait a minute and we must give it to him. And so he put up the 1999 constitution. And so we must accept that these constitutions were not properly done. And that is why the government has said, let us dialogue. But we must also give credit to this federal government. The first provisions, amendments that were made to any constitution in the history of this country was done under the government of Jonathan. We must call a spade a spade. Today, we can conclude election petitions in 1 year because of amendments that were done. I've given another example of an amendment that was done. Or like before that, election petitions will continue. Somebody who shouldn't have been in office will be in office for 3.5 years. And suddenly you nullify his election. And he comes to contest again. I mean, so let's call it. We have seen some positives. And that was done by the National Assembly. So why not to give this advisory committee time to go around and consult? After their consultations, they'll come up with a framework. Okay. Let's not judge the book by the cover.
Okay. Mr. Dushala, what kind of issues are you expecting this committee to look at?
Well, very well. I think the most important thing we want to look at is the federal structure, so to say. Are we really practicing federalism? Power to the states, power at the center. Let's also look at the schedule, the exclusive lists. Do we, when we call something federal government, do we pursue need some areas that would say it's under exclusive powers of the federal government? One, something like roads, something like railways, labor, should it be under the exclusive list? And then we also even want to look at the legislative arm itself. Should we continue with the bicameral system of government or not? It would also be pertinent to look at, should we even go and reduce the number of states or increase, so to say, the number of states, or fall into regions? And most importantly too is the issue of derivation. Should we work and some people reap the benefits? Who bakes the cake for people to eat and then neglect it? What is my contribution to the general purse? If my contribution is just rank-a-day or hail the king, then we need to look at the issues. We also need, there's so many issues. The issue of census also needs to be blocked into.
Very touchy.
And it's a fact. Sometimes if a house is not demolished, you do not get a remodeled, significant, fantastic building. I'm sorry, my Yoruba may not be too good, but they say, Ile Oba Tojo Ewa lo busi. When you build a house or you reconstruct a building, you expect something better than the former one. So these are issues we want to. Should the federal government be involved in education, Nasarawa 3%, Jigawa 2%. Is that their business? Should they be involved in university? Should they be involved in building houses? Should they be involved in land matters? A lot of things which, if as he wants us to be positive, if the positivity will be genuine and real, then the National Assembly itself must be co-opted into this dialogue. Let's first of all state the National Assembly, you are our representatives. What we demand is pass a bill or an act to establish a sovereign conference. The sovereign conference to work out a new constitution can go pari passu.
Mr. Dutola, is this the same National Assembly which Nigerians have said don't represent them? Is that the same one you're talking about?
Whether we like it or not.
That they did not elect those people that...
Whether you slept on your right by not voting, whether you were not bothered, whether the person was adopted by a godfather or was put there by the husband or anything, they are, as at today, our representatives.